The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your SuperChats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
There are several new reports about some moves the Jets could make, including an intriguing option at pick 16 for the New York Jets. Omari Brown will join me. We'll talk about that and much more. A lot to get into. It's the Jake Asman Show. Let's hit it and get it started.
Wish you could have been a Jet, Fernando.
Let's see what happens.
What's your message to the Jet fans in New York?
Jets, Jets.
A new chapter for the Jets has started. Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji are tasked with shaping the future of this franchise. Will they be the ones to finally get it right? We will be here for every step of the journey on the Jake Asman Show, breaking down all the storylines, every game, and everything in between. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super Chats, baby. Cut the line. The Jake Asman Show starts right now.
Here we go, Jet fans. Welcome in, everybody. It is the Jake Asman Show. Live on a Wednesday. We are presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Appreciate you being here. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and you like the video. I want to thank the Asmaniac community who came out and supported the first ever Jets Collective Roundtable podcast that I'm a part of with ESPN's Rich Cimini and, of course, longtime sports radio host, BT, Brandon Tierney. We already hit over 1,500 subscribers on the Jets Collective YouTube channel. We had over 400 people live with us last night. We're going to be live every week. I'll keep you guys updated on next week's start time, but a lot of fun. Definitely check it out if you're seeking more Jets content. I thought BT and Rich were outstanding, and we're actually going to play a couple of interesting clips from the show to kind of get the discussion going on with our show this morning. With that, we say hello right now to our new Wednesday regular. He covers the NFL for uSTADIUM. It's our guy, Omari Brown, who joins us now. Omari, how we feeling? The draft, a little less than a month away. Let's go.
Yeah, man, I'm pumped up. First off, thank you, Jake, and thank you, Asmaniacs. You guys probably hit that button for me a little bit, so I appreciate the support. And yeah, Jake, we're getting into the dog days, so there's going to be a lot of regurgitating narratives out there. People are definitely positioning themselves to help some of their agents their agents out. So there's a lot that we need to discuss, man. First, we get into that, man. Congrats on that. That's big. I watched the Jets Collective. Love you. Love BT. Rich Samiti's a legend, so I think that you guys did a really good job, and I'm going to be looking forward to the Jets Collective going forward, man. Great stuff.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think it's going to be a really cool avenue. I know Rich has a podcast, but he's not on YouTube. BT brings that radio audience with him now to the YouTube space, and we have the biggest Jet following here on this channel. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and by next week, we should have Super Chats rolling for people to have questions being asked directly. So I'm looking forward to it. Again, make sure you guys subscribe to the Jets Collective on YouTube, and I'm going to get right into it because we'll play a clip from the Jets Collective to start things off. This was on the show last night. We're talking about options for the Jets at pick 16, the debate on which wide receiver should they take a receiver there, and Cimini dropped this nugget about not a receiver, but a different type of weapon potentially for the Jets at pick 16.
I've heard some rumblings in the scouting community about the Jets and Kenyan Sadiq. I mean,
really?
If the wide receivers are gone, if Tate, Jordan Tyson, and Mekhi Lemon are gone, and you're sitting there at 16 and Sadiq is there, which I think he probably will be, that's going to be an interesting one. I mean, he is off the charts athletically. I mean, the guy ran a sub 4.4. He's a good kid. There's no red flags. I mean, you could run a lot of two tight end stuff. I mean, the Jets need dynamic weapons. I think we all agree on that. They got Garrett Wilson, and pretty much that's it on the perimeter. Yeah. So you split him out, and you use Mason Taylor as your traditional wide tight end. You got something there. You got a tough matchup for the defense.
Okay, so I give you the first word on this, Omari Brown. You are certainly a draft expert. You studied the film on Oregon tight end Kenyan Sadiq. If the Jets were to take him at 16, how should we as Jet fans feel about that move?
I think that we should be excited about it because that means that Darren Muji is further supplanting himself as a modern day GM. Listen, I've said this on the show, Jake. I've said this on Twitter X. The Jets need offensive weapons. Now, I'm not going to discriminate against what that weapon is. I may crash out a little bit if it's a running back, but in terms of wide receiver, tight end, I think that the Jets need to be all about getting weapons for the current quarterback, which is Geno Smith, and the future quarterback in 2027 when we start to look for that. So Kenyan Sadiq, listen, 6'3", 245 pounds, ran a sub 4.4. He did not, the way Oregon goes about their business, they spread it around a little bit more. So people are going to see that, he's never had over 1,000 yards. But Kenyan Sadiq, in terms of elevating the threats that the offense is going to be able to use, I think that it's going to be tremendous. You're going to be able to move him. Now, we saw even Sean McVay, they're doing some 13 personnel. So that's 1 running back and 3 tight ends to kind of mitigate a lot of teams sitting in nickel. So I think that it would be tremendous. That gives Frank Wright another movable piece that he can use. And then you could always go back at 33 or 44 and get whatever tier 2 or tier 3 wide receiver that is your preference. So I actually do like that. I think Kenyan Sadiq, he's explosive. He can work at the intermediate. And I think that he's a better blocker than people are giving him credit for as well, too. So I think at that point, Jake, you're either looking at 16, depending on how the board falls. You could either be looking at wide receiver 4 or 5 versus tight end 1 or offensive or offensive lineman 1. So I think that you just have to take the best player at that point if you're not going to be aggressive in move. I do think that the Jets are going to surprise some people because I've heard.
Did we lose Omari there?
Is going to be aggressive in this draft. So I think no matter what, I think the Jets fans are going to be happy with how those first 2 picks turn out.
We lost you for a second there.
I still got
Omari.
you here, Jake.
Okay. The internet a little choppy on your end, but I think we got most of your points.
Jake, you got me?
Yes, sir. Omar, do me a favor, though. Here's what I'll say. I feel like we had the delay problem that we had off air. Just reset your StreamYard, and we will figure it out, and we'll get you situated. So I agree with your assessment on the player. I mean, this is the guy that had 8 receiving touchdowns. He led FBS football among tight ends. He's gotten better every year with more opportunities to play. He had 3 receptions his first 2 seasons, and he obviously had 8 this past year. One of just 6 tight ends this past year with 50 receptions. Now, he did have some drops, 6 drops, which tied for the most among tight ends. But, I mean, he's a physical freak. You heard Omari give the measurables. It's just there. I think what the debate comes down to is simply, where does Sadiq grade out compared to wide receiver 3 or 4 who's potentially there? And if Jordan Tyson is there, I think he would grade out as a higher player, but we can't ignore the injury history with a player like Tyson. Now, there was some news yesterday that Field Yates said, Field Yates of ESPN, he reported that Jordan Tyson is going to have a pro day ahead of the NFL draft because he wasn't healthy enough to participate in the combine or participate in Arizona State's pro day. So Field reported yesterday that Jordan Tyson, dealing with that hamstring injury, is going to work out for teams on April 17th. So that is, 6 days before the draft? I think there's a real scenario where it's Sadiq versus Jordan Tyson maybe for the Jets. Because if Makai Lemon of USC goes ahead of Tyson now, and maybe the Jets aren't in love with Omar Cooper Jr., I do think there is a real scenario where it's, hey, do we take Sadiq because we think he's just the best weapon, or do we take Jordan Tyson? So I think that's a real conversation. I'm going to bring Omari back with us right now. Where do you stand on that, Omari? Because I do think maybe the Jets' decision could come down to, hey, do we feel good enough about Jordan Tyson to take him over Sadiq, who might be the best weapon at that point? And now we can't hear
I think
him.
if the medicals check out, we're having a time. We're going to push through, though. I think if the medicals check out at 16, that's where you can start to take that risk a little bit. And I think if you feel any trepidation about it at that point, you can always double dip. The Jets have a ton of day three picks, and that's where you can start to take some of those more, developmental projects that you really are in love with their traits. So yeah, I heard what you said about Kenyan Sadiq and then Jordan Tyson. I'm glad that he's going to be able to actually run some routes and do some of the positional work, just so you can kind of feel better about that. But I'll be honest with you, Jake, I'm building a model right now, and I'll tell you right now, fully healthy, Jordan Tyson has the highest probability to become an offensive centerpiece. And I think that at 16, you run that card up there. I think the release package, I think the body control, and I think the route nuance and winning at the top of the routes is something that you look for in an offensive centerpiece, which I think Jordan Tyson is. Now, listen, hurt guys get hurt. That's the old adage that people say. But I think that at 16, we've taken worse swings, and we don't even have to go down the horrible history of the Jets picking wide receivers in the second round in day 3. I mean, we could talk about Chad Hansen, Ardarius Stewart, and Devin Smith from Ohio State all we want, but I think that every time we do take a wide receiver in the first round, I'm talking Garrett Wilson, I'm talking Santana Moss, it usually works out for us. So I think at 16, I think that we could bet on Jordan Tyson being healthy because one was a collarbone. Okay, it happens. Jaden Reed broke his collarbone. That happens. One was an ACL. Guys tear ACLs all the time. And with modern medicine, we've gotten better to the point where guys are usually fully back to themselves anywhere from 12 to 14 months. So as long as there's no structural damage to the knee and the collarbone is healed, I think with, maybe better training, better hydration techniques in the NFL, Jordan Tyson could correct those hamstring issues.
Look, I mean, Samini told a great story last night. Part of the reason the Jets didn't draft Jackson Smith and Jigba was he dealt with a hamstring issue in college. And sometimes you just got to take the swing if you believe in the player enough that he could overcome it. So I think it's a real decision for them. Look, I'm not against them taking Sadiq. I still believe I'd prefer a receiver. I'd just rather the Jets go more conventional and get that true receiver next to Garrett Wilson. But I was watching some Kenyan Sadiq stuff this morning just because I knew we were going to talk about him. It's hard not to love what he could bring to the table. We see the Bills run 2 tight end sets in their offense. You see more and more teams just say, hey, you don't need to be an inline blocker. Go out there and line up as a big slot, and we'll find ways to get you the ball. And him and Mason Taylor would create some really intriguing matchups for the Jets this year. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and then you could even get even crazier at the goal line, Jake. We bring in some 3 tight end sets, and now Ruckert is now becoming your 3rd tight end. And this is what we spoke about. You and I spoke about this at the Combine. We'd like to see the Jets win on the margins. So moves like swapping out, Jermaine Johnson and getting younger at the position with Joseph Asai, getting rid of Michael Clemens. And now you when you're rushing from a sub package, you have David Onyemata. I think that's winning on the margins, and they've done that. And if you continue to do that, now you're bumping. Let's say Sadiq comes in and he becomes tight end number 1. So now Mason Taylor's your tight end 2, and now Jeremy Ruckert could be your tight end 3, and now he's the H-back and he's moving. And now we could really get crazy and call some mismatches at the goal line. So I think that you want to give Frank Wright and more importantly Geno Smith enough safety blankets and enough options to where he isn't holding on to the ball. Because one cool thing I did like that you, BT, and Rich did bring up is that Geno Smith had completed almost 70% of his passes last year. And he is pretty accurate. He's not the Geno that we remember. I believe over the last 5 years, he's top 5 in completion percentage in the NFL. So that's not a fluke. Yes, he has been on a bit of a 2-year decline. But Rich also stated that if you talk to Pete Carroll, he'll be the first one to let you know that the supporting cast failed Geno more than the other way around.
Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. Some other reports on the Jets I want to get into. We also have Asmaniac Madness coming your way this morning. We're making our way through the opening round of the grown-ass man region before we start the round of 32. Yesterday, Charles Gorman defeated Robert C. Andrew C. the Dream defeated Sean, which means today the stage is set for the Puerto Rico battle, the 5 versus 12 matchup. V-Man and Genergy going at it head-to-head. That's coming up shortly. And then our second stream today, Big Cho and Jason in Jerusalem. The 4 versus 13 battle is coming your way. Awesome giveaway on our shows today. I asked last week for Jet fans and Asmaniacs their opinion on what Jet players we should feature for raffle prizes, and this was a popular one. Al-Toon, one of the great receivers in Jet history. A signed Al-Toon helmet is our raffle prize today. If you enter the raffle during this show or my second show, you'll be on the raffle wheel for your chance to win. Again, gift the membership or send in a $10 super chat or higher to qualify. An Al-Toon sign helmet is the prize. And then Saturday, our weekly prizes feature the Namath sign helmet, Revis sign helmet, and the Breece Hall autographed helmet. Your thoughts on the Jets potentially drafting Oregon tight end Kenyan Sadiq? Let us know in the comments, and we'll read some of those coming up. Now I want to talk about the backup QB situation. This was Rich Cimini on the Jet Collective last night discussing some of the names to watch for the Jets at backup QB. Brought up the backup quarterback situation. While we're on that topic, what is the latest on that end? It seems like a lot of the backup names we talked about are signing elsewhere, and the Jets are sitting in a spot where I believe their quarterback depth chart is Geno Smith, Bailey Zappi, and Brady Cook.
What is it? You're saying that it's not a great depth chart, is what you're saying? Yeah. So they're obviously going to sign someone or trade for someone. You saw Joe Flacco get signed today with Cincinnati. The Jets were not interested in Joe Flacco. Woody Johnson, not the biggest fan. And also, Joe Flacco got $6 million from Cincinnati, and there's no way the Jets are going to pay $6 million for that backup job. And, Joe really likes Cincinnati. So the Jets were never in on Joe Flacco. I think it's going to be Tyrod Taylor, who's still free, and Cooper Rush, who was cut recently by Baltimore. He did not play great last year. He had 2 starts. He played poorly, but he did some good things a few years ago with Dallas when he had that run when Dak Prescott was out. So he's an option.
He was good.
He had a little bit of a run there. He's not old. He's only 31 or 32. Mm-hmm. It's wide open at this point. I think they'll bring in a veteran, and I think possibly they could draft a guy. I don't think it'll be an early draft pick, but they could bring in a developmental type guy to be their third quarterback.
Okay, so Cooper Rush and maybe Tyrod Taylor being brought back are the 2 names there that have been mentioned. I have a theory on why the Jets have yet to sign a legit backup. I believe Ty Simpson is in play for this regime. It might not necessarily be at pick 16. It could be at pick 33. It could be they trade back in to the end of the first round. But I don't think the Jets, who do have Bailey Zappi rostered in that quarterback room, feel the need to invest any sort of significant resource in a backup QB until after the draft, because I think we all believe whether it's Ty Simpson early or someone on day 3, they will add a quarterback, and depending on who they add, that will influence what they want to spend on a backup QB. I don't think Tyrod Taylor is going anywhere. I don't think Cooper Rush is going anywhere. I think you look at other teams in the league, they've already made their moves for their backup quarterback. So I don't think the Jets feel any rush, and they're going to wait till after the draft to fully address the backup QB position. And I think a lot of it, again, has to do with the fact maybe they would take Ty Simpson in under a certain circumstance. And if you take Ty, you don't need to spend any big money on a backup, because if you're making that investment in Ty in the first round or early second round, at some point you want him to play. So you want him to be the number 2 quarterback if Geno Smith's going to start the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we look at the landscape, I think the backup landscape is just all over the place. We were hearing rumblings, Jake, that the Eagles want a 2nd round pick for Tanner McKee. Tanner McKee was a 6th round pick, and he really hasn't shown anything. So I can only imagine. So if the Eagles are asking for a 2nd rounder for Tanner McKee, what could you imagine what the asking price is going to be for Spencer Rattler or Will Levis? Or, well, we know that Brissett is probably going to be the starter there. So I think the Jets are playing this correctly. Let's wait till we get closer to training camp, and then also know that there are a ton of guys who actually fit what we believe Frank Reich is going to do. Now, I think you can take a swing with Ty Simpson, but I think 16 is way too early. If you tell me that you want to trade back into the mid-20s, I think once Ty gets past 21, which is the Steelers, because, we could do the whole Mike McCarthy, Aaron Rodgers, draft a young guy that, that kind of fits, that kind of almost fits the style. He's a bit of a gunslinger. He takes chances, but he's not fully ready. So you have that McCarthy, Aaron Rodgers, Ty Simpson thing going. But I think once he passes 21, I think the Jets should be in play if he's your guy. But Jake, the only guys that truly fit what Frank Reich is probably looking for in a quarterback, which is 6'3" and above, 30 college starts, can manage the game, doesn't really take many chances, are going to be Fernando Mendoza. And we already know that he's going to the Vegas Raiders. Is going to be Drew Aller, who, depending on who you talk to, they're either going to love him or hate him. I haven't met anybody that says, "Oh, it's give or take or hit or miss with me with Drew Aller." You either have a strong opinion of Drew Aller, or you have a very strong opinion in the adverse that you don't really like Drew Aller. And then Carson Beck. So we can play tea leaves. We're all FBI. We're all doing background checks right now. We're putting the tea leaves together. The Jets contingent was at the Miami Pro Day. we saw Frank Reich, we saw Aaron Glenn, and Darren Muji all speaking with Carson Beck. He fits that. Carson Beck is 6'4", decent arm. He's played a ton of high-level SEC football. So it's Fernando Mendoza, Drew Aller, and Carson Beck. So I think, me personally, I think it's going to be Geno Smith, Tyrod Taylor, and Drew Aller or Carson Beck. And I think next year is when you take that big swing and you really try to secure your franchise signal caller for the next decade and a half. But I think right now it's about establishing and basically setting. It's frustrating, Jake, because this should be year 2 and we should be ascending. And right now it seems like all we're trying to do is put together a foundation. We tried to put together a foundation with the previous owners and their pieces and their models, and we tried to make it work, and then we had to scrap all that. So now we're still trying to build this foundation. So I think Frank Reich is going to be able to, and I think that somebody like Carson Beck is going to be a backup for a long time in this league. And I think that that's the route that they're going to go.
Look, I think if they don't take Ty, I think you're onto something there. I think maybe they're looking for that long-term backup, and Carson Beck could certainly be that. He's got the starts. He's got the height. The Jets did go to his pro day. They sent Frank Reich to his pro day, which I found to be notable as well. So I think you're definitely onto something. Aller's intriguing because of the just skill set, right? Big, has a huge arm, but mechanically is a mess. You could say he hasn't gotten great coaching, which I think is fair. But is that a guy that you want to roll the dice on in the second round? No. Third round, you don't have a third-round pick. Do you take him there if you require a third-round pick? I'm not sure. Is he there in the fourth round where you have 2 forts and maybe you think that's a worthwhile swing? I'm okay with any day 3 quarterback they take because I just understand the odds that no matter who they take, chances are they're not going to work out and be franchise quarterbacks because the odds of that happening are very, very unlikely. Everyone talks about, Dak and Kirk Cousins and Brock Purdy. Now look at all the quarterbacks that get drafted, and you tell me how many of them are still in football after a couple of years.
Yeah, the probability is slim. The reason that everybody is a race to the top to get those quarterbacks because that's the cream of the crop. And the probability of one of those guys hitting in the first round versus a fourth rounder, which is basically like a unicorn, man. Like the fact that Dak and Kirk Cousins, I believe that was the same draft, actually. Dak and Kirk Cousins came out and gone on to become franchise leaders is very slim. And then, once we get into Brock Purdy territory, that's probably like less than 2%. You probably have a better chance of hitting the lotto than finding an elite quarterback in the 7th round. So it just doesn't happen. So I think that you have to take the proper swings at the right point in the draft. And I think that for where the Jets are this year, because listen, we're trying to get our timelines right. We want the GM head coach timeline right. We want the GM head coach franchise signal caller timeline all to match up. And I just don't think, if we get Ty Simpson and things start to get a little shaky here and go off the rails, Jake, we already know that this franchise will fold to public pressure. And we don't need to destroy or damage any other young men, putting them into this position before they're ready. So I think that day 3 is really where you should go. And people, listen, Carson Beck, people are going to have strong opinions, in one way or the other. One thing Carson Beck can do, he can deal with adversity, and we can put him in, and he can manage the game for you. Now, Carson Wentz is going to be the basic, the typical quarterback that needs an elite cast around him, but he can steady the ship. And I think that they just need to find a long-term, steady-the-ship quarterback, and then they can find their franchise QB because that's how the timelines are shaping up.
Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. Our giveaway today is an Altoon signed helmet. Frank P is the first to enter the Asmaniac raffle today. He has gifted 10 channel memberships. Let's go.
Let's go, Jets. Let's go, Jets. Let's go, Jets. Let's go, Jets.
If you hear your name called, you are officially a channel member, courtesy of Frank P's generosity. Jet Fan 6278, Free Schlep 1 Kid, Random Entertainment, Jesus Freak, Evan J. Williams, J. Remy, One Mind Every Weapon, Dan Doyle, The Man Beast, B. Baru, all receiving a channel membership. Thank you to Frank P. He is in the first to enter today for our raffle. Dan the Jet Fan with a super chat for us. He says, unpopular decision here, but if we were to take Ty Simpson, I want him playing right away. I don't want a small sample size in 2026 when we could draft a QB next year. Well, the problem with that is they've already signed Geno and told him he's the starter. So he's going to at least start the year. The question is, how long is the leash if the Jets aren't winning or if Geno's not playing well? I worry if they take Ty, they're going to be pressured to play him. That's why if you take him, I feel better about him in the second round. There's less pressure to put him in than if they were to take him 16th overall.
Yeah, I feel all that. I feel all that too. Jake, you said this on the collective last night, and I think that there's only been 2 successful guys with as little as starts as Ty Simpson. And these guys are incredible athletes. I put Kyler Murray on this list as a success because he was a Pro Bowler. He was an Offensive Rookie of the Year. And if I believe that if Kyler Murray went to a different situation, he would have been more successful than the Arizona Cardinals. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing Kyler with Kevin O'Connell out in Minnesota. And then there was Cam Newton. And I mean, it doesn't really get much more out of central casting if you're going to create a Madden overall 99 player. 6'5", 260, rocket arm, could run over people. Like those are elite 1% alpha type guys. Kyler Murray, I've said this before, I think for pound, from a talent standpoint, what he's able to do at 5 foot, he's listed at 5'10", but he's probably closer to 5'9". What he's able to do on Sundays in the NFL is just absolutely amazing. Ty Simpson isn't that, but Ty Simpson does a lot of good things. We could argue that Ty Simpson, in terms of what's needed to, what you're asked to do at the NFL level for a quarterback, Ty Simpson does better than anybody in this draft. You look at the first 8 weeks of the season before it really got off the rails. Ty Simpson was making a lot of adjustments pre-snap. Ty Simpson was making a ton of big-time throws into tight windows, and Ty Simpson was elevating the team around him. I believe Ty Simpson had more catchable dropped passes in college football, and they had a historically bad offensive line and a running game. So once the film got out there that you didn't have to load the box anymore, that's when we started to see Ty Simpson falter a little bit. He also lost 25 pounds because he had gastritis. So there's a lot of things there that we can say. We can talk ourselves into that, Jake. But guess what? Didn't we talk ourselves into Zach Wilson as well, too? Haven't we talked ourselves into Christian Hackenberg? Didn't we talk ourselves, even though we love him, we're around the same age, Jake, didn't we talk ourselves into Mark Sanchez? I think at the quarterback position, you don't really want to talk yourself into a guy. You want to know that he's that guy. And unpopular, take there, Dan. We appreciate you for tapping in with us. And, this isn't just to discredit what you think. I'm not saying that. But Aaron Glenn needs to prove to himself, the Jets organization, and the entire fan base that he's an NFL coach. He's not going to be able to do that with Ty Simpson having less than 17 full starts at college. It's just not going to happen. I mean, we're talking about probabilities here. What probability would you assign that, Jake? 12%?
Yeah, 100%, man. I'm right there with you. And, I see the super chat from NY Flight Jets Talk. Shout out to our guy Connor Long, who's killing it on his channel. Connor doing a great job with the Jets and all the coverage over there. So guys, check him out. But he writes in 4 QBs with under 15 starts taken in round 1 over the last decade. Trubisky, Richardson, Haskins. Shouldn't rule them out, but teams will definitely weigh it. I'll even take it a step further, right? You look at quarterbacks since 2010. I was doing some research on this topic last night. Since 2010, 51 quarterbacks have been drafted in the first round. Of those, only Mitch Trubisky, Dwayne Haskins, Anthony Richardson, and Cam Newton made fewer than 15 career Division I starts. And obviously Cam Newton had that historic year where he won the Heisman, led Auburn to a national title. And we should mention he did start 12 games the season before for Blinn Community College. So absolutely. Ty Simpson, again, he would be a big outlier. And when you're betting on an outlier, I feel like you want to bet on an outlier who's like an elite specimen or is coming off just a historically great year. We could say Ty Simpson had a great 7 weeks where he looked legit and then played through an injury and the team around him, as you highlighted, Omari, had a lot of issues. I just wouldn't do it at 16. However, because quarterback is so important, and I believe until you have one, there's 2 types of teams in the NFL, teams with a franchise quarterback and teams without one. Since I believe in that philosophy, I'm willing to roll the dice in the second round, but I'm not going to do it in the first round. I cannot justify it at pick 16.
I can't. And I'm not willing to bet my job if I'm Aaron Glenn or Dan Emoji. I'm not willing to bet my job on Ty Simpson. I'm sure he's a great kid, and I know that he's going to wow people, and I'm sure he wowed the Jets already once they got on the whiteboard at the combines, and I know he's going to do a great job at his pro day today. But I for a team that is so devoid of talent, and you need day one contributors, I just think, and Jake, we talked about this too. That would have been the first question that we asked Aaron Glenn. What did you learn? We don't need any more headlines. We don't need any more stories other than the Jets are trying to establish themselves as a credible NFL franchise. And I think that if there's constant questions about when Ty Simpson's going to play, I just think that you're creating more dissension in the fan base because there's a large contingent of the fan base that just isn't happy that Geno Smith is back. So you couple that with a young QB, because what is the favorite thing for a franchise for a fan base to pine for? The backup quarterback, especially if they don't know if the backup quarterback is good or not. So there's always going to be that shiny new toy. So I would absolutely love for the Jets to, have some discipline and just operate like a franchise that's serious about winning and not a soap opera that's, trying to grab headlines and back pages.
Omari Brown is my guest. Comments, questions, super chats, they will cut the line. Appreciate everyone who is here supporting the show. Make sure you guys like the video and make sure you guys, again, are subscribed to the channel for daily Jets talk. We are less than a month away from the NFL draft. And if you haven't heard, we're throwing an epic draft party at the site of the draft in Pittsburgh.
Draft Day 2026 live from Pittsburgh. Jets Nation on the clock. Gang Green take Fat McFadden's day and night draft party hosted by the Jake Asmaniac Show. Thursday, April 23rd, doors open at noon. Let's go! Yeah!
Let's go, baby. The link to RSVP is in the description for this video and every video. The call-in line is pinned for those of you who want to join us and get off your takes on the New York Jets or talk about anything draft-related. I mentioned we're presented by FanDuel. I'm rocking a Yankees hat right now because baseball is back tonight. Bet on every Major League Baseball game with FanDuel Sportsbook. Tonight, the Yankees against the San Francisco Giants. Max Fried on the bump against Logan Webb. The Yankees are a 1.5 run favorite. They're also a minus 126 favorite on the money line. Over-under is set for 7. They have every bet imaginable for the baseball season over at FanDuel. Let's go Yanks. And if you're betting on the game later, do it with our sponsor, FanDuel Sportsbook. Before we get to your calls and some other Jet topics, let's open up voting for this morning's Asmaniac Madness battle. We have the 5-seed V-Man against the 12-seed Genergy. Both of these two have one thing in common. They love Puerto Rico. Ladies and gentlemen, voting is underway.
Who's gonna be the best of the bunch? You get to pick the ones that make the show
Vote, vote, vote. Your votes determine who advances to the round of 32. Super chat from Kevin who checks in. He says Sadiq plus Mason Taylor equals Gronk and Hernandez on the field. If you guarantee me that these guys are going to turn into Gronk and Hernandez getting arrested for murder, I'm in. I don't know if I see Mason Taylor or Kenyan Sadiq as maybe the best tight end of all time, Rob Gronkowski, but I certainly hope you're right, Kevin.
Yeah. Listen, I would sign up for Aaron Hernandez is on the field. I love that he put on the field like that. Aaron Hernandez was a wild boy off the field. But yeah, I think it's all about, creating mismatches. And I think that there's not too many mismatches that we look around for. It's Breece Hall when we can get him on the outside against linebackers. And then, we couldn't even fully, and this is what's so frustrating is that we couldn't even fully grade Mason Taylor on what he is. Is he more of a Jason Witten? Can he really stress the seam a little bit more? Can we get a little bit more out of him? Is there some yak to his game? We don't really know that. So right now it's basically neutralize Garrett Wilson and load the box against Breece Hall, and that's how you stop the Jets. So I think any way that you can add more talent and some more juice, I'm going to be in favor of it. Yeah. So I'm team weapons and I won't discriminate. So Kevin, you're right on there. We're thinking the same thing, brother.
Love it. Score points, man. It's time. How many times have we seen the Jets draft defense, have an okay defense, and they just never have enough weapons, man? Like, just Because again, no matter how anyone feels about Geno, whether he's here beyond this year or not, like they're going to take a big swing at quarterback at some point. The best chance for the Jets to actually get it right with that quarterback is to just overwhelm the offense with talent. They had the right guy in Darnold. We didn't know for sure because the Jets failed to do that. And I'm just hoping they don't make that same mistake again with whoever they end up drafting.
So, Jake, it's opening day. We're both Yankees fans, and however we feel about that, it's a great day. But let me ruin your morning a little bit. Offensive snaps with a lead in 2025. All right. The New England Patriots had 578 snaps with a lead. The New York Jets, 66.
Oh,
that is
my God.
That is an insane, and shout out to Warren Sharp Football. I got that from him. That is one of the most disgusting tweets that I've seen. 66 snaps, Jake. When the modern NFL is geared towards offense, that's pretty pathetic. So if you tell me that we're going to draft a weapon, even if it's a weapon that I don't like, I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue because it's historically bad, and I want to be on the historical side of some positive things. Yeah, there's a large contingent of Jets fans out there. Just think about this, Jake. If you're 16 or 17 years old, you think that the Jets don't make the playoffs. Like, we come from a time when the Jets used to the playoffs. Yeah, we used to go to the playoffs and we used to win playoff games, guys. We beat Peyton Manning and the Colts 41-0. We used to host playoff games as well too. So this isn't just some, imaginary thing that Jake and I are talking about. This used to exist, young men and young women out there. So we just got to get back to being a real serious franchise.
It's just crazy, man. I mean, just 15 years, like an entire generation doesn't know what it's like for the Jets to be in the playoffs. Like Connor Long, who loves this team, has a YouTube channel, just sent in a super chat. Like his first season, he remembers, I think, is the McCown year. It's insane.
Yeah. So yeah, shout out to Connor. He does a lot of good work too. We just really have to get back to operating like a real franchise. And I mean, even the discussion, not to take it in different places, that's why a lot of people want to, take a guard. And trust me, I know all guards aren't created equal, and I'll be the first to say that. All guards aren't created equal. But that's why, because we've missed so much in the middle rounds trying to develop those guards, trying to develop those offensive weapons, that people think that we have to use premium capital on these positions where, the Seattle Seahawks just won the Super Bowl with an undrafted free agent at center. So I think that development is a real key. I think that coaching development is a real key, just as important as player development. And I kind of like where we're headed right now. Aaron Glenn is going to be mentoring Brian Duker. You got Frank Reich, who is hopefully going to be mentoring Seth Ryan. So hopefully we got some coaching development pipelines going, and then hopefully we can really get the
Did we lose Omari again? Omari, the internet gods, getting the best of you. Reset the StreamYard one more time, and we'll bring you right back on. Comments, questions, super chats. They cut the line. We got a super chat from Uno Jets, which I will ask Omari when he gets back. He wants to know, does Omari have a YouTube channel? You're in the raffle for 2, Uno. Again, we are raffling away a signed Altoon helmet across our shows today. So that is a popular requested Jet, and we got one that I purchased to raffle away to a listener on our shows today. Kyle Clifton with a super chat. He writes in, I was at that 41-0 game. It was a pure party, and no one noticed the cold. I can't even imagine being at a playoff game where the Jets win 41-0. Just a party the entire time. Unbelievable. And the way they got into the playoffs that year, where they needed to beat Favre in Green Bay the final week and needed help from the Patriots of all teams to win the division in 2002. Just a crazy year. That was the play. You play to win the game season. Jets started 2-5, made the quarterback switch with Chad, and the rest is history. Omari's back with us. Omari, the internet does not want you on the show today.
Doesn't want us to be great, man. Doesn't want us to be great. You got me?
I got you, Omari. Yes, sir. You got me. That's the question.
Oh, good. Yeah, exactly. I got you. Yeah, internet doesn't want me to be great today. But, listen, I would love to go to a Jets game where it's just a wire-to-wire beatdown. I can't even imagine what that would be like. So yeah, man, we really need to get back to being a credible franchise, not even just for us, just for the younger generation, man. By the time if we have another 5 to 7 years of this, there's not going to be any Jets fans under the age of 30. So, I know Willie Johnson loves revenue, and I know he loves back pages, and nothing makes a team more popular and beloved than going about their business the right way and actually winning. So let's hope that we can just get back to some winning.
Uno wanted to know, do you have a YouTube channel, Omari?
So thank you, Uno. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the super chats. I will be starting a YouTube very soon here, very shortly here. We're just in the works of some of this. So yes, I will have a YouTube channel very shortly. But for now, listen, I'm on Twitter. Follow me there. I'm always tweeting. I'm in the spaces, but I will be on Twitter. I will be on YouTube very shortly. Thanks for watching, Uno.
We love that. All right, we're going to get to your calls coming up. Early update on voting. We finally have a close battle in Asmaniac Madness. We've had a lot of blowouts of late in the opening round. The 5 versus 12 setting up to be spicy. Genergy is up 55-45, so that is a 5-point lead. Think of it in terms of a 50-50 split of the vote, and Genergy's up by 5 points. 55-45 is the score. V-Man, Genergy, if either of you call in, you'll skip the line and go right to the front if you want to present your case to anyone who's on the fence voting-wise. Let's get to some of your calls right now, and let's say hello to Lou Yu, who's first today. Hello, Lou Yu.
Hello, Jake. Thank you for taking my call. I wanted to call in for a few reasons. First of all, I'm a Jets OG. I've been a fan since 1967, and my brother and I had season tickets back at Shea, and we were there for the transition to the Meadowlands. And so we had season tickets for about 15 years before I finally gave them up. I now live in Florida, so it's a little difficult for me to go to the Jets games. The one thing that I wanted to make a point of when I called in was you're talking about Ty Simpson. I understand that Ohio State and Alabama are having their pro day on the same day, and what I've heard is that the Jets are planning to go to Ohio State's home pro day. So I don't know what that says about Ty Simpson. Obviously, they want to check out Arvell Reese, but you think that they would send somebody to Alabama's pro day to see Simpson if they were really interested in him.
So, Lou, first off, thanks for calling, and God bless you for your fandom, as long as you've been a fan of this this franchise. So my understanding is Darren Muji is not going to be at Ty Simpson's pro day today, but the Jets will have representatives at the pro day, and they're going to, no one's told me this, I'm just connecting dots, they will use one of their top 30 visits on Ty Simpson for him to come and work out for them and meet with everyone at their facility. So if they're not going to send the GM to that, they're going to bring Ty to the Jet facility and get more time with him one-on-one would be my guess.
Okay, thank you for that information. Jake, there's one little small point I want to bring up with you, and this isn't related to the Jets specifically. It's something that you say when you talk. You use the term weary, like you say that you're weary of drafting Simpson at 16.
Yeah, it's Leary, right? I saw you comment that. Was that you? Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yes, weary means tired. Weary means suspicious for a reasonable thing.
I'm both tired and suspicious, so it makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. We all are.
Well, I appreciate you.
I want to thank you.
Call it again soon, all right? I'm going to put you in the raffle for 2 for being a first-time caller.
Thank you very much, Jake. And I just want to say that I've been a viewer of your show for about 6 years now, and I get the best information on the Jets from you and your guests like Omari, and I really appreciate your show.
That's awesome, Blue. Well, thank you for the kind words, man. That means a lot. 6 years that he finally just called in. Let's get some more first-timers. Let's go. Omari's bringing out all the first-time callers.
Listen, man, I bring a different energy, man. Glad we could do this weekly. Shout out to Lou, man. Let's win for Lou. Let's win for Lou. Everybody's, people are talking about tanking and all this other stuff. Well, we have fans like Lou out there, man. We got fans like Hector out there, and in the commute. We got some older fans. They deserve to see some wins too. The older and the younger fans. Jake and I, we're built for this. But the older fans and the younger fans, man, let's get them some, let's get them some wins, man. How can I talk my daughter into being a Jets fan when we haven't won since she's been alive? So, we have to think about that too. But that's pretty cool, man. I'm glad Lou called in. If you guys are watching, man, call in. Ask us some questions.
Link is pinned. If you prefer to super chat, we'll guarantee it will get read. I saw this comment from Doc Jet fan. I'm weary of the Jets and leery. I feel the same way.
Weary and Leary. Yeah. That could be our nicknames on Wednesdays. Wednesdays with Weary and Leary. But yeah, we all are too. We all are.
We know who won't call in. Jay Reeves won't call in. Three siblings, Jay. There's a term on this show. It's called Jay syndrome. It's when the lights are too bright and you're afraid of calling in to actually argue your points. You'll just troll people in the chat. That is the Jay way of life.
Well, listen, it seems like that might be the Jets fans' way of life too, because it seems like that's just the best thing to do on Jets Twitter and on the socials. Nobody ever really wants to get in front of a mic and really share their point of view. They just want to make fun of yours, the people that actually put themselves out there. So we encourage all of you to call us in and tell us why we're wrong, or call us and tell us why we're right. Please.
Well
subscribe.
said.
Yeah. Subscribe. Make sure you send a super chat and you cut the line. Let's do it.
Black Hockey Media wrote in, morning, Jake. I saw last night on SportsCenter that Zach Wilson signed with the Saints. That is true. Zach Wilson did sign with the Saints. Do you think that would make Spencer Rattler, Gary's guy, expendable? I kind of like him. Thoughts? I suppose it might. I don't know what their view is of Zach Wilson. Is he just there strictly to be the number 3? Is he going to compete for the number 2 with Rattler? And they got Zach for basically nothing, so they just wanted to add a quarterback. I haven't seen what the details of Zach's contract is. Like, is it just low level and he's got to fight for a roster spot so they could cut him? I'm not sure. I would at least call about Rattler and see, what it would cost to get him. I'd prefer the backup. I've said this before, to be someone that at least has some semblance of an upside. I don't believe Rattler's the long-term answer. I don't believe Will Levis is the long-term answer, but I'd rather take a chance on one of those guys than bring in like the Andy Dalton type or the Tyrod type. We know what they are. They're old. They're not going to be here long-term. Like, I'd rather just have some sort of upside with my backup QB. So I'd call the Saints about Rattler and at least find out what it would cost to potentially bring him in.
Absolutely. I'd call. I mean, we talked about this earlier. So thanks Black Hockey Media for tapping in. So we said, listen, I'd be calling Loomis for Spencer Rattler. I'd be calling Stephen Jones for Joe Milton, because they the Saints brought in Zach Wilson. And the Cowboys brought in Sam Howell, another guy that I wanted to target just because he's younger. With Tyrod and Andy Dalton, those guys are 37, 36, 37, 38. And Tyrod is always hurt. So I don't want the doomsday scenario of, Bailey Zappi taking meaningful snaps, or God forbid we have to sit through watching Brady attempt to cook at any point next season. I think that you need to insulate yourself enough. And that is, if Geno falters anywhere, you can still have some excitement and you won't lose all hope. And we won't be doing mock drafts in October because we'll say, hey, listen, at least Spencer Rattler's going to push the ball down the field. At least Joe Milton can throw the ball through a car wash and it not get wet. You need to have somebody in there that's going to, build excitement. And I think that that's how you can kind of appease your owner and still go about your business in the right way. So absolutely, I'd be on the phone with the Saints, just trying to see if we could pry them away. But the same thing as we said earlier, Black Hockey Media, I don't know if you were on here. If the Eagles are asking for a second rounder for Tanner McKee, I can only imagine what the asking prices are going to be for a Joe Milton, a Spencer Rattler, the Will Levises of the world, the same guys that we keep talking about. So I think that these teams are holding on to these assets, especially at this point right now. Maybe the price comes down post draft, but right now I just think the asking price for a lot of these, I guess we could call them depreciated assets, are kind of high right now.
I think that's spot on. All right, we're going to get to more of your calls coming up. If you have a question, write it in. Al Toon Sign Helmet is the giveaway, and make sure you vote for either V-Man or Genergy in Asmaniac Madness. Joining us right now is the 2 seed in this tournament. Hit it.
I'm Black Tipsy. I'm gonna set all you delusional Jets fans straight. Your takes make me wanna punch you in the face. I'll kick you in the crotch when this team sucks. They suck. I'm Black Tipsy. I'm Black Tipsy. I'm Black Tipsy. I'm Black Tipsy.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
Good morning.
So, when Rattler's garbage, McKee is garbage. Like, most of the backup quarterbacks out there are going to be garbage. Cooper Rush is probably the best of what's left over there. So, if we can get Cooper, cool. But if Geno goes down, the season's over. Let's keep it real. Let's be a buck. It's over. So, whoever we draft, cool. Like, I don't really care about who we draft as a quarterback because I kind of gave up on this year. So my whole thought process is, I've been saying it in the chat like a psychopath. Redemption has 10 words in it, right? Or 10 letters in it. Like, this team is the redeem team. There's so many people on this team that need to prove something for next season that is unbelievable, from players to the whole coaching staff. Like, if ever there was a redeem team, this is the year that, like, I have nothing else to get behind this team with. Like, there's not stats I can put out. Reich hasn't been good. AG hasn't been good. Musgrave, like, it's all people jumbled together to make this jambalaya that could be great or really bad. So, redemption team for next year, because if Reich is good, the offense could be good. If Geno's good, the offense could be good. If Brees is good, there's so many ifs on this team. There's no solids. Not even Garrett coming back as a solid because he got hurt last year. Mason Taylor didn't do great last year. He did okay. So everybody has to redeem something this year. So, Jake, redeem shirts, redeem Jets. Like, you have the tank for our shirts. We need the redeem shirts, the redemption Jet shirts, because like, that's all we really have. In the comments, when everybody speaks, there's so many ifs that it's insane. Like, there's no like guarantee this is gonna happen when we have a conversation about the Jets. Other than that, we're gonna lose. Like, most people are confident that we'll lose games, but we're not confident that we'll win or do anything good. So, like, we have a lot of narratives. Like, Jay created the Ty Simpson narrative, so everyone's talking about him.
He was going to be talked about either way. He got Mike Tannenbaum saying the Jets should take him at 16, which that's all I need to know to not take him at 16. Thanks
we
for
can't. We can't blame Jake for that. You know, Dan Orlovsky and Mel Kiper's doing that all on their own.
Dan Orlovsky said Zach Wilson was good. Nothing that comes out of his mouth will ever like sink in for me ever again.
To be fair, though, Gypsy, a lot of people did, man. They like Kuiper liked Wilson, McShay liked Wilson, Jeremiah, who I really respect, liked Wilson. Yeah, there was a lot to like with Zach. The problem was it was a COVID year. He dominated bad competition, and maybe if he went to the right environment that could coach him up and he didn't play scared and lose all his confidence, maybe it could have worked for him in a unique situation elsewhere. He was never the right fit for New York. He was obviously a horrific decision. They played him right away, but a lot of people just believed in his talent. Like, he's physically as gifted as any quarterback that will come out. It's just he was not able to mentally process the way you need to play the position at a high level.
Orlovsky and Kurt Warner watched Zach Wilson play after the first season and then came back and said that he could be good. I will never listen to anything that either of those people ever say again. After watching Zach Wilson the first year, Orlovsky came on camera and said on the McAfee show that he could be better. It was the Jets' fault and the offensive coordinator's fault. Like, he made that narrative about the offensive coordinator for LaFleur. So, not listening to them. They're done for me. I do find something interesting, though.
You thought Brady Cook was going to do something, though. Like, we all have bad
I wished Brady Cook was going to do something, but I didn't have any tape on him and say, oh, he's great. I was like, we just saw the worst quarterback play we've ever seen in football, and now we have...
Says, here comes Black Gypsy to complain about Ty Simpson, but tell us Brady Cook is the next Tom Brady.
I'm not complaining about Ty Simpson. I don't want Ty Simpson. There's nothing to complain about. Like, I don't want him. Like, I don't want Brady Cook either. So, country, eat it. And to go forward, Sadiq, I don't really want Sadiq at 16. If we can get him later, I think he is perfect for that offense, because everyone's saying running 2 tight end sets. Cool. But we don't need to run 2 tight end sets. We need to line him up as the number 2 receiver. Put him we need to just move him around, make him a receiver in our regular offense. Like, that's a big dude that can go get the ball. And then if we do run 2 tight end sets, we can say, hey, we run 2 tight end sets and get better blocking out of it. But if we're lining him up as a receiver, like him at 1 and Garrett at 2, or Garrett at 1 and him at 2, like, that's amazing, because you now have that out route that you can throw. You now have those fade routes that you can throw where he's going to get open. Who's going to challenge him to get that ball? You throw the ball towards the out of bounds, he's going to go up and get it. I like the Sadiq talk. I like any big receiver except for Boston. I don't know what's going on with Boston. Like, I do like the Sadiq talk as a receiver or a tight end, maybe like the later part of the first round, or maybe the second round if he's still there. That's
I don't think he makes it out of the first round.
I don't think he makes it out of the first round.
No, I think he's firmly entrenched as a top 25 selection. But Gypsy, let me throw this back at you. So a lot of people, like, me right now, I only have about 12 first-round grades. So if there's not that many first-round grades, I think after a certain point in the draft, you just start taking guys that you want. So I wouldn't really get so caught up on where we take the weapons as long as we take the right weapons. Because once you get past 10, I think Caleb Downs probably goes in that 10 to 12 range. After that, Gypsy, it's going to be we're going to see a lot of guys go earlier than we expected, and then some guys go later than we expected, because this draft is not going to there's not 27 guys with first round picks. So there's going to be guys that I probably have when I post my top 150 that are going to be in the 40s that end up going in the late 20s. And that's not anything that we should say that it's a reach. It's just going to be like, this is a year where it's more about quality or quantity than it actually is the quantity and the upper echelon athletes. So you're right to think about that. I would use Kenyan Sadiq as a move piece, similar to how I would say Kenyan Sadiq is a more athletic Harold Fannin. So the way that Stefanski used Harold Fannin in Cleveland is how I would hopefully they would utilize Kenyan Sadiq. And I think when we're accumulating weapons this year, it's all about getting Garrett some one-on-one opportunities. And that's the main reason that I like that Geno's here, because one thing Geno's going to do, he's going to stretch that defense. He's going to put pressure on the defense, and he's going to be accurate. I mean, we've listed, we don't have to go through the entire list, but we know that Garrett Wilson has had a DeAndre Hopkins type of QBs throwing him the ball. And it actually might be worse than DeAndre Hopkins because he had Matt Shaw putting up some good numbers for a couple of years. So I think this is about, and I've talked about this before, this is about redeeming. This is about redemption. We'll take your narrative for the year. This is about redemption. Can Aaron Glenn coach? Has the game passed Frank Reich by? Is Garrett Wilson ready to step into that no doubt bona fide tier 1 where we all think that he belongs? Is Mason Taylor a tight end 1 or tight end 2? Is Brees worth $14 to $15 million per year annually to be in those conversations? So absolutely. And I think that Geno is going to be the key that unlocks all of that.
Well, let's hope so, man. Redemption team. Redeem team,
baby. Thanks for calling in, man.
That's it, bro. Holla.
Gypsy, appreciate you. Good call there. Look, now or never. Like, everyone has said the Jets are going to stink. Their win total is set at 5.5 at FanDuel for a reason. Many people, myself included, argued that the coach should have been one and done. It was that bad in his first year. Like, go and prove us something, man. Because if the Jets win 8 or 9 games, Aaron Glenn would get Coach of the Year votes. I'm not even kidding.
Absolutely. And it's such a low-hanging fruit. But 8 or 9 wins, Jake, I already know that some people are probably going to clown me when I open my Twitter. I like to see wins. And me, I think that you can find a QB. All of the top QBs weren't taken first overall. We don't have to go through it. Deshaun Watson had a good couple years. He was drafted 10th. We all know about the Patrick Mahomes story. Josh Allen wasn't drafted first overall. Lamar Jackson went 32nd. So there's nobody in this draft class in that. But next year's draft should shape up to be a little bit better. I know that we're always kicking the can down the road, and the best thing to say in the scouting industry is, oh, next year's draft is going to be good. But if everybody does what they're supposed to do next year, everything is going to fall exactly as it should. When you have I'd rather build a foundation this year. Aaron Glenn proves you and I wrong. Frank Reich proves me wrong. And we actually have a bridge situation to where we do draft that QB next year, because I love all of those guys. But I would not, Jake, the days of starting a guy that you draft number 1 overall and starting him day 1, they're just over for me. Unless they're like Andrew Luck and they just come in and they command it and they have everything. I'm telling you, this city, this market, this team is a buzzsaw. And if you don't have it between the years, if you don't have the fortitude to be able to handle somebody like you going live twice a day talking about the team, like, just think about, we're just inundated with Jets content all the time. If you're not ready to step into this and really take the bull by the horns, it's going to chew you up and spit you out, just like it did that nice kid from Utah. So we really have to go about this the right way. So even if they do win 9 wins, guess what? I still want them to move 2 picks and move up and get their best quarterback. And then guess what? I still want Geno to be the quarterback next year until Geno either declines to a point where he's not playable anymore, or that guy proves that he's ready to take the reins. That's what serious organizations do.
I think it's well said. And again, we're so, focused on the quarterback in 2027. They have the 3 picks to wheel and deal. And no one considers the fact, well, what if the Colts are just really bad? or God forbid there's an injury to Dak Prescott or Jordan Love and the bottom falls out for one of those teams? What if the big move the Jets make is not drafting a quarterback? What if they trade for Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson or Dak Prescott or whoever is disgruntled and is available a year from now? We don't know. So there's just too many unknowns. As a fan, I want to see wins until it's obvious this team is a disgrace. They got to blow the whole thing up from a coaching staff standpoint. It will be a to be determined on the front office with the GM. But like going into the year, I'm going to root for wins. If they start 0-4, yeah, at that point, I think we have our answer on Aaron Glenn. He's got to get out to a good start. But until then, I just don't subscribe to the segment of the fan base that's already like throwing away the year and just rooting for losses. Like, it's sports, man. Crazy things happen. I don't think this team is going to be that good. I think their win total is between 5 and 6. I think that's about right. But I'm not going to like go into the year like rooting for them just to be bad at this point. We haven't even had the draft yet.
Exactly. Jake, I can't be 18 months out hoping that a 22-year-old doesn't want to stay in college. I enjoyed my college. That's why I went and got my master's. I enjoyed my time in college. So if I was the quarterback of a team out to even consider the 2027 draft, because if we're doing that, we're not going to be good until 2028. And I just think that that's a loser's mentality. And I think that it's easy to have that because hope is the worst thing that you could have, hope without, any end in sight or any, result in your favor in sight. That's why people want to hold on to draft picks so much, because it's hope. And then this is why people don't really want to jump out the window, because we've been let down too many times before. So I get it. But again, a lot can change. And if you keep losing, another thing too, I'm glad you brought up the trade thing, because losing has a ripple effect. Obviously, it affects whoever's in the building, and obviously it's going to affect Woody Johnson, because that forces him to make knee-jerk reactions. But then that's why the Jets had to trade that 7th rounder to go get Minkah Fitzpatrick, to go get Geno Smith, because you weren't going to be able to recruit those guys because we're not winning. So if you start winning, then it can become an attractive location. You think I know everybody talks about the taxes, but they pay jock tax anyway. You don't think people want to live here? Brandon Marshall and Bart Scott, those guys are still eating, and they started their media careers because they were in New York. You already know if you win here, you'll be a legend. Joe Namath can go anywhere in the tri-state area and do whatever he wants because he's Broadway Joe and he won a Super Bowl here. The same thing with Jalen Brunson. I'm sure the name Jalen has probably skyrocketed since Jalen Brunson has been here. So you don't have to tell me. I joke all the time that I would name my second daughter Jalen Brunson Brown. So if you win here, you're royalty. Look how we treat Patrick Ewing. You're royalty. It's just, we have to start winning at some point, and that's how you attract talent. People don't want to come here to come, take less money to come lose. It's just not it. So I think winning, the rebuilds don't take a decade and a half. The Jets took that long because it's been dysfunctional. But this thing can turn around really quickly if you start operating the way you should and going about your business the right way.
Comments, questions, super chats, they cut the line. Shout out to Wayne, who's been a member for 23 months, who's using his free super chat you get when you are a channel member to say JETS, 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 Jets. Open phone lines right now. No one's currently on hold if you want in on the conversation. I got one more clip I wanted to play for you, Omari, and get your take on it. So yesterday, the Jets did Notre Dame's pro day. Their top prospect is running back Jeremiah Love, who could go in the top 5. I don't think the Jets would take him at 2. However, the Jets coaches, they did meet with Love. This was Love yesterday talking about that.
So I actually met with the Jets this morning, and they asked me about how many times I fumbled in my Notre Dame career. And I said one time it was against Boise State. The ball came out, didn't lose it, but it did come out. And I don't really fumble a lot because I like to give the credit to my coach, Coach McCullough, Dylan McCullough. He was my running back coach my freshman and sophomore year. And I kid you not, the first warm-up I came into Notre Dame in, like the first warm-up, he gave me a ball, like a beeper ball. And create like a good posture, get the ball in tight, high and tight. And I did that for all the warm-ups, and from then on into all the games, I didn't fumble because of what Dylan, taught me. And that's pretty much it. That's why I don't fumble. Huge emphasis on ball security.
He met with the Jets and he doesn't fumble. What would your reaction be if they actually did shock everyone and took Love second overall?
Then we could finally let Brees Hall go and be on another team, and he can tweet as much as he wants, and we wouldn't have to worry about it anymore. So I think Jeremiah Love is going to be one of my I have him graded yet, but I haven't finished out the class. So Jeremiah Love is definitely going to be a top 5 prospect for me. So I think it's very early, but in the draft where you're looking to get the best players, I wouldn't argue against it. But then you create a conundrum there because you did tag Brees Hall. So hopefully this is smokescreen season. So hopefully we're trying to entice some people to move up. So Coach Harbaugh, if you want to come up and get your guy, Bobby Salah, come get your guy, and we'll move back and we'll get some picks, maybe a 2027 second round or something like that. So come up and get Jeremiah Love. I'm talking to everybody who wants a running back and wants a high character guy with a high floor. We could be open for business.
Yeah, look, I don't think the Jets are going to take Jeremiah Love, but I would love for the rest of the league to think they're going to, because the only chance of trading at a 2 is if a team thinks that he's in play for the Jets at 2, or if Arizona would be interested at 3, or if people are just convinced Saleh would take him at 4. Is there a team that's going to want to come up to get in front of the Titans? I think the Jets are going to have a hard time moving at a 2. I'd love for them to be able to do it. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, same. I think you just stick there, you take your best edge rusher, and then you focus on what I would love to see is that a trade up from 16. So I think that you just grab as many blue chippers, I don't really like that term, but blue chippers as you can in this draft, and then, we go about our business. So, but yeah, smoke screen season. So definitely come up. You got to create some sort of, you got to create some doubt there. So you got to make some of these GMs sweat a little bit, and that's a great way to do it. I love that they're talking to everybody. Go to Miami. Anybody that's looking to be in the top 10, we should be at all of their pro days and having as many discussions as we can. So it's very, I like the fact, and actually I want to ask you, do you like the way that this regime has gone about their business in terms of no leaks? And I mean, we haven't even been getting reports from some of the beat other than Rich about, top 30 visits. So how do you think that this regime operates?
I think there's been maybe less leaks overall, but you still had the absolute dysfunction of what happened with the coaching surge, and that did leak with the whole Wink thing. So that was still a pretty bad look. We talked about this on the collective last night. I think the leaks will happen if they get off to a brutal start this year, and then everyone is trying to save their own ass. You go into CYA mode, cover your ass mode, and then people are going to try and go out there and try and spin the narrative that it's so-and-so's fault, not me, because they're already thinking about trying to get their next job. And that's what Harrison Phillips was talking about when he gave that quote to Richie of Jets Media about the cancerous environment that Glenn was inheriting. Well, if he hasn't fixed it by year 2, he's now a part of it and will be gone with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
Omari, you're the man.
Go.
I was just going to say, you're the man. I appreciate you hopping on, man. We'll do this again next week.
Thank you, man. Thank you. All the Asmaniacs out there, thank you for the love. Jake, thanks for the opportunity, man. Let's keep this going, man. Right up until training camp, baby. Go Jets.
Let's go. Omari Brown joining us, uSTADIUM's finest. He's going to have a new YouTube channel coming soon, so I'm certainly looking forward to that. We will get to more of your calls coming up. Update in voting. It's Genergy and V-Man going at it, and it's a 2-point game. Will Genergy or V-Man call in? That could sway the vote. It is 52-48. Genergy with the slight lead over V-Man. A lot of people wondering, will either call in to present their case? We know that Genergy works during the day, and we know that V-Man could be napping or doing God knows what else. More of your calls right now. Ladies and gentlemen, the leader of Jets is next, and if you are easily triggered, this is not the guy to listen to. Hello, leader of Jets.
Hey, Jake. I was actually going to start the conversation with reading the comments after all my calls. Very few fans. Very few fans. I like Omari. He's probably, of all the people I've listened to, the most rational. I don't want to use the word normal, but I like his approach. He gives Jets fans a good name. he had mentioned something, 16 we talked about, and I was trying to think of things to ask you about. What are your feelings about Frank Reich? What do you see moving forward? I feel like I like Tanner Eggstrand. I thought that there was a lot of promise there. Maybe they didn't trust him to develop a quarterback, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on Tanner and Frank going forward.
Well, I think Frank Reich was probably the best of what they could have done. Like, he's had success in the league. I think there'll be a professional outlet. Like, they won't have as many mental mistakes as they had. I think there'll be a functioning offense with Geno and Frank Reich that could work. I don't think he's great. I think I'd rather have kept Engstrand and brought in someone like Frank Reich to work with Engstrand. But, I mean, look, at the end of the day, Frank Reich wasn't in football last year. He was in college football. His first and only year with Bryce Young in Carolina, he didn't make it through. I don't know how much that is really him versus like just a dysfunctional mess. I think he's fine. I think a lot of the Frank Reich discussion is centered around his involvement in the pickup quarterback. And I know you're a Ty Simpson guy. If they take Ty Simpson, that's because Frank Reich is giving his stamp of approval. He is, from everything I've heard, and Rich confirmed this on my collective show with him last night, Frank Reich is like he has more say, I believe, in who the quarterback pick they make than Aaron Glenn, if that makes sense. Like, Glenn's going to defer to Frank Reich's opinion on the matter.
Which I'd be happy with. I'd love a scenario where we get Ty in a trade up or 16, but who knows? What do you think about the people angry at Dan Orlovsky for propping up his fellow CAA member?
So the only thing I will defend Orlovsky on, I don't believe he's propping up Ty because they're both represented by CAA. I think that is the dumbest narrative that gets put out there. CAA is one of the biggest agencies in the world, and Orlovsky is not important enough for them to pay him to prop up Ty Simpson. Like, what? He props up Ty Simpson, and that means NFL teams don't draft him? Like, that's not how this works. And CAA is a huge agency, and Dan Orlovsky's agent who handles his business is not the same person that handles Ty Simpson's agent. Ty Simpson's agent is Jimmy Sexton. So I just think we go way too crazy with it's because of the agency ties. I've seen that narrative everywhere, and I think that's unfair to Dan. Where I will criticize Dan, you don't get to be like, oh, man, everyone's coming after me for having a different opinion when the basis of your argument in part is based on things that aren't factual. Like when he was talking about it was 13-6 in the third quarter of the Big Ten championship game for Mendoza. No, it wasn't. It was 13-10. Like when he's talking about what big games has Mendoza played in, like, come on, bro. Like we don't need to do that. So I just think while trying to cape for Simpson, he went too hard the other way against Mendoza, and that's where he loses credibility, in my opinion.
Yeah, I had that bit on with him and McAfee, and I turned it off just because it felt like he wasn't prepared to make any sort of defense of his argument. But overall, you can't argue with the results. Fernando's results are better. But when you watch the tape, I think the hatred for Ty, I just don't think people have watched him. They act like he's this bum, but you watch him command an offense, and he just looks like a pro. It's just Fernando. Is
it hatred or just using facts that he started great, didn't end great, played through injuries? He's a little undersized. He's not like short, but he's 6'1", so it's not like he's like Mendoza, who's 6'4", 6'5", 240, which is what teams want, right? Or like, is it hatred to say I think he's a second-round pick? I don't think it is. I think it's just You're using my eyes. I've watched the film study. I've had guys on who love him that break it down. I see what to like about him. I also want to mitigate my risk by not drafting a guy who's made 15 career starts with the 16th overall pick. I think most people view him as a second-round quarterback. I think that's a fair assessment of what he is.
I apologize. That isn't directed at you. It's just the temperature on Jets Twitter. It's so toxic. People act like Ty Simpson is the worst quarterback who's ever graced an NFL draft. And I'm shocked that people, if you were to watch just a few snaps, it's very clear he at least belongs in the conversation. But I feel like I do too much Ty Simpson when we're on here. So I'm trying to think of other things.
Do you like any other quarterbacks in this draft, or Ty is the only guy you like?
I mean, I loved Fernando. Like, if you were to go through my personal account, I've been tweeting since September that Fernando is the first overall pick. I always put it between him and Ty. I don't see it with Dante Moore. Obviously, he didn't come out, and I think that's best, but I never really saw it. Fernando, the more I look at it, I think his adjustment is going to be a little funky. He does run the read option a lot, and that doesn't mean that he can't do other things, but his comp I see as Matt Ryan. I don't see Fernando as this elite. He's definitely the most ready, but I don't necessarily see him as this can't miss guy.
Yeah, look, I don't think any quarterback can't miss, honestly. I think it's circumstantial of where they go. Like Andrew Luck, you could argue maybe was the last can't miss dude. Trevor Lawrence wasn't can't miss. He was supposed to be. It took him till his third coach to start playing like a top 5 to 10 quarterback. So,
but prospect wise, he was can't miss. Trevor Lawrence was like king of the world at Clemson. People acted like he was the second coming. I wasn't the biggest fan of his. Obviously, there's certain, and it goes back to the immeasurables. Like he's 6'6". He has a cannon. If you get him with the right coaching, it'll be there's a basement level of how good he'll be. What was your? I know how you feel about Glenn, and I apologize I didn't follow earlier. What was were you a Saleh guy?
I mean, I was more patient with Saleh than Glenn because
why?
I think Saleh inherited a way worse situation for starters. Saleh's quarterback was Zach Wilson. Saleh built a top defense by the end of his second year. And
why does he get credit for building the defense, not Joe Douglas, and vice versa? Like
they
with
both
Aaron
do.
Glenn.
Here's why, leader of Jets, because Saleh took guys who none of us had ever heard of, day 3 picks like Jamie and Sherwood, waiver wire claims like John Franklin Myers, undrafted free agents like Bryce Huff, waiver wire claim like Quincy Williams, and he turned these guys into legit players.
Was John Franklin Myers a waiver wire pickup?
Yes, and it was Saleh's system. These were his moves.
Listen, that's a good point.
He hired the coaching staff that saw player development on that side of the ball. Again, I don't want to act like Robert Saleh was a good head coach. I just was more patient with him because I thought the quarterback situation was an abomination. He won 7 games and had the Jets at 6-3 in his first year and his second year. And if Mike White didn't get hurt, I think that team would have made the playoffs. Mike White, I just think they were playing for him. They should have made the playoffs in 2022. It's unfortunate.
I was at the Halloween game against the Bengals with Mike White.
That was in 2021. Yeah.
Electric Stadium. That was a really fun game. Saleh it was so frustrating with the penalties. I feel like he never corrected certain issues. Hopefully he learns from that. I think they could have some success. I like Daboll. I think they'll be okay in Tennessee, and I think Cam Ward's great.
Well, that's the thing. If Cam Ward is great and Daboll coaches him up, I think Saleh will be a fine head coach because he'll fix the defense. And I'm sure he's learned a lot from his first go around. But this was part of my argument why I wasn't going to have patience for Glenn. I'm tired of the first time head coaches that are defensive minded learning on the job, especially when you see success from other first time offensive coaches immediately. That's where the league is going. Either hire someone who's done it before, who knows what they're doing, or take a swing on the offensive guy, because that's where this is headed if Glenn can't figure it out. And we're looking for a coach going into 2027 with 3 first-round picks.
Well, I don't see a scenario if they go into the year with Geno Smith. Okay, unless Geno Smith plays insane and they make the playoffs, like why would you keep Glenn if he has a 6-win season? Like I'd like to give him a chance, but like, can you really give a guy a third year with no success with the way the league is moving?
Well, I mean, I think it depends on what it looks like. Like, how did they get those wins? Is the defense awesome? Is his superpower truly coaching defense? And all of a sudden you feel good about that side of the ball? Did they win a couple division games? Did they get out to a better start and just like Geno got hurt and that affected their ability to win games? To me, I'm less fixated on how many total wins. The wins are important. That's ultimately what will matter. But there's different ways to get to 7 wins if that's going to save his job. Like Gase won 7 games his first year, but he started 1-7. Like Glenn might not be here if they start 1-7 after they were 0-7 in year 1. What he might fire him before he gets to that point.
But without a functional offense, and Saleh had the same thing later, where if you're on the field 35, 40 minutes a game and the offense can't get a first down, they break down near the end of it. You need that complementary football in some degree. So he can even have a above average defense, and then the average points per game is still going to be around 25 because they're spent when it comes to the fourth quarter.
And also here's part of the criticism too for Glenn. He has more power than Saleh did. Glenn's way more involved in the moves. He was the reason they signed Justin Fields. That was his decision. He said as much.
Where do you like? That's where I kind of lose that sort of criticism of him, because I just don't think a first-year head coach has that sort of swing. And he does.
The owner referred to Muji as Glenn's sidekick. Glenn's making $12.5 million a year. Brian Dable was making $6 million.
What was
the same market?
I'm not familiar with the contract, but I just can't see a scenario where Aaron Glenn, a football lifer, can look at Justin Fields and say, this guy is a starting quarterback in the NFL. So that's why I think it's lip service. He was the lowest paid.
How is it lip service? Who cares if he was the lowest paid? Again, there were other
non-rookie.
options.
Well, I mean, Aaron, that's why I think it was a tanking year to begin with.
It wasn't a tanking year. They were not trying to start 0-7. They were trying to win. You think their goal was with a new coach and GM coming in, was to take the team and be awful right away? You think that was their plan?
I do.
You think Glenn was trying to tank, right? So when he forgot the game-winning field goal yardage against the Broncos in London, you think that was part of this master tanking plan?
I think that I'm not entirely sure of the situation you're talking about. When they kicked the field goal late, what was the situation?
No, when he didn't kick the field goal late and then said afterwards, it was a 65, 68-yard field goal? No, coach, it was 61, and Nick Folk hit from 58 2 games prior to that. That moment, you think they were trying to tank when they went out there and started the year against Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers and lost that game, even though they played well for most of it offensively?
I think they got beat by the Steelers, but...
Were they trying to tank? Were they trying to tank when they lost to the Dolphins on Monday Night Football? Was Braylon Allen trying to fumble the ball at the goal line on that opening drive where they look great?
There's two types of tanking, okay? There's talent tanking in the beginning of the year, and then there's like NBA tanking where it's harsh and aggressive. Like, there's no defense of an in-game decision where you could say, oh, I'm going to start calling terrible plays, or I'm going to intentionally trying to lose.
Dude, but they were not trying to tank at the beginning of the year. Come on, man.
How can you really
if you want to defend Aaron Glenn, here's how you try and defend him. You say he learned a lot after a disastrous year one. I think our coaching staff is improved. I think the roster is improved. I think he has a chance to be better because of that. That's the only defense. But
I'm not defending
0-7 start doesn't matter because they didn't tank at the beginning. They were trying to tank at the beginning of the year. Come on, man. He said we're here to win now and going forward. When he talked about it's all coaching, man, puffing his chest about how good Will McDonald and other players are going to be under his coaching staff. You think their goal was to then start 0-7?
It's tough when you say, oh, their goal was to start 0-7. But if I don't think that they went into the year thinking we're putting out the best roster. They said this roster needs a complete overhaul.
They knew that they were not going to win the Super Bowl, but their goal was to be a lot better than anyone thought. Their win total.
Why wouldn't they just keep Aaron Rodgers?
Because they didn't want Rodgers anymore. Glenn did not want Rodgers. The first thing he did was get rid of him because he told Aaron Rodgers, I can't lead the team with you in the back of the room, thinking that Rodgers was going to undermine him, which is ridiculous.
What's more likely? That Aaron Glenn has literally zero idea about talent evaluation, where he thinks Justin Fields it gives him a better option to win than Aaron Rodgers, or that they were taking a long-term approach and signing a lottery ticket with hopes of losing and getting a higher draft.
They did not think Justin Fields was going to be as bad as he was. They said he'd never been coached up properly, and Glenn had confidence in the staff. That's not what you say. You don't say that. That's not what you say.
Yeah, he sucks. He's never.
That's not what you say. I can't. Leader of Jets, I can't do it anymore. I gave you enough time. I cannot. We're not relitigating last year. You don't say he's ever been coached up properly when Mike Tomlin, who's going into the Hall of Fame on roller skates, benched him at 4-2. You don't say that. You say, we believe in his upside. We're excited to see what he could do. We're going to help him be the best player he possibly could be. Come on, man. Aaron Glenn was so god-awful in his first year that leader of Jets is convinced it was intentional. That's when you know this coach was inept. Why'd he fire 10 of 21 assistants, leader of Jets? Just because? They entered the year to tank. Tank for who? What player was generational? We knew the suck for Sam year was about Darnold and those other quarterbacks. We knew that a year out. We knew a year out it was all about Trevor Lawrence and that quarterback class. We didn't know this year. We were projecting guys like Nussmeier and Aller, these guys to be good, but no one was like, oh, these guys are generational prospects. Come on, man. You think this is a coach who was intentionally trying to lose by signing Justin Fields?
Galvanize a group of men. Listen, obviously he's a talented player, and listen, I'm happy that I have him as my quarterback. I really am, because I think the sky's the limit for this player. I really do. Listen, I'm not going to go out there and say that he's the next Joe Namath or anything like that, but I will tell you what, man, he's going to be a good player for us, and I'm excited what he's going to do for us this season.
Come on. Remember his message to Jet fans?
A good question, and to me, I will continue to say, like, just don't let go of the rope, because there is a plan, there is a vision. From day one, we've been trying to set the foundation of what we want this team to be, and a lot of that is from in-house perspective.
Blatant lie. This is what he's been saying since day one.
We're here to win now, and we're looking forward to it. So any questions?
After he glossed about how great his coaching staff was at that presser at the Combine. Please, we don't need to relitigate this. What's an Aaron Glenn quarterback? Remember that? He was asked that?
Look for in a quarterback. Like, what's an Aaron Glenn quarterback?
A winner.
So you signed Justin Fields, who has the worst winning percentage of any starter in NFL history. Like, what are we doing, man? We don't need to pretend. It was an awful year. Plenty of coaches are good assistant coaches and not good head coaches. Robert Saleh might be one of them. We'll find out as he's getting a second chance. Kyle Clifton with a super chat. Glenn did not downplay expectations. He should have. No, he talked up his ability to coach guys up. He talked about his coaching staff's ability to get the best out of players. And then he ended up having to fire 50% of them, including both coordinators. Him and Hugh Jackson are the only ones who have ever done that. Hugh Jackson won one game his first year and then went 0-16. That's Glenn's contemporary right now. Come on. More of your calls. The Rooster is next. Hello, Rooster.
How we doing today, Jake? Great show last night, by the way. The collective was unbelievable.
Thanks, Rooster.
You know, it just with Aaron Glenn last year, he wanted to win, and after 7 games, he couldn't win, and they scrapped it.
Right. They came up with a new plan. They scrapped it because they started 0-7.
And deep down, I'm happy they went that way. I think now we are in position to go. Now, that doesn't mean Aaron Glenn's going to save his job or this and that, or this is a planned move. He couldn't do it last year, so they scrapped it, and I think we're in a great spot now. Looking at 16.
Are we in a great spot, though?
Yeah, I do think we're in a great spot because of the capital that we have.
Right, but there's no path to a quarterback right now.
There could. I mean, you said
there could
yourself.
be in 27, but we got to wait another year. Whereas if they didn't start 0-7 last year and they gave us a fun year and we felt better about our coach, we'd feel better about their plan to coach guys up and figure out the quarterback position without having to be the worst team in the league to get the top pick.
We're good. Listen, we have a better quarterback in the building than we did last year. We're going to have 2 more years of.
If they signed you, you'd be an upgrade over.
Okay, but he's better, Jake. He's going to play better. We're going to.
I agree, but he's also 36 and has thrown 32 picks the last 2 years. What's your expectation for Geno Smith?
No, he's not the answer. So let's just go now. One quick conversation on Ty, which seems like a lot of guys. McShay, I saw rallying on him. We know, but the Orlovsky, though, he got eviscerated by Pat McAfee. I never seen anything like. Did you see that part?
Yeah, because Pat was right.
He was right. I mean, you could like Ty Simpson without having to say kill Mendoza. I mean, I felt like Orlovsky was killing Mendoza too much.
I mean, Orlovsky got destroyed so badly by the internet yesterday that he had to post the people often forget that kindness is free.
Stop. You go, just listen, you make that statement. You're throwing that Hail Mary out. Take it like a man. You stand by it. Don't then walk it back. Kindness isn't. But now let's talk about the Jets at 16. If he's there, Ty Simpson, are they going to take him?
If he's there at 16, I don't believe they will take him.
Okay. I'm not saying I want Ty Simpson at 16, but if they did take him at 16.
If they take him at 16, people won't like it initially, and then we'll talk ourselves into it.
Correct.
That's what always happens. Bills fans never forget they booed the Josh Allen pick. All right.
Fans
is short for fanatic. All right. We're all going to root for the laundry at the end of the day. It's the old Seinfeld bit. We're all rooting for laundry. That's what we do.
I'll tell you one other with the wide receiver pass catching room. If the 3 wide receivers and we're not taking Ty Simpson, you got to think about Sadiq at 16. If the 3 guys are off the board, we need to upgrade our talent pass catching. That includes tight ends. Ruckert is a blocker. We don't know how good Mason Taylor is. So if you say to yourself, we got to upgrade this room and the 3 wide receivers are gone, you could live with Sadiq at 16. Would you live with that at 16?
I could live with Sadiq if the other receivers are all gone. Yeah. I could live with it. It's not my preference, but I'd understand it.
And then take another one, and then take a wide receiver in 33 or 44. We got to upgrade the pass catching room majorly in this draft. There's too much talent not to do it, not to get a couple guys, 1 tight end, 1 receiver, 2 wide receivers. We need to bring pass catchers into this building. And yeah, the quarterback, it's a problem. It's a problem, but like you said, we don't know what Muji thinks about Ty Simpson. That's the great underlying thing right now. What does Muji think of, and to a lesser degree, the head coach think of Ty Simpson? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Not what not what Orlovsky thinks. What do they think? Because right now, like you said, we don't have a quarterback solved yet.
This is true. We do not have a quarterback solved yet. And that has been the storyline of the New York Jets since basically the retirement of Joe Namath.
And I'll say one quick college basketball. Very happy we brought GMAC back. But how about in 24 hours, North Carolina and Kansas going to be opening up when Bill Self retires? That's crazy. I mean, so I'm kind of happy. We're done. We got our guy. We had to take him once the Hodgkins thing, and they made a run at shirts, fell apart. Bring back Jerry, proved he could coach. He's an all-time hero, and we'll see how it plays out with Kansas and Carolina. Jake, great job last night. You're the best.
Rooster, thanks for the kind words, man. I appreciate you. Spencer Green says, Jake got the AG vest on. Finally, someone noted. I'm ready to be Aaron Glenn for Halloween this year. I was Rex, and now will be AG. I already got my vest. Ready to go. Super chat from Bino, who writes in, when someone pulls the kindness is free card. I know. Orlovsky got destroyed for his take, rightfully so, that he posted this on Twitter yesterday. The photo in the middle is people often forget that kindness is free. And I thought Tony Vegas had a hilarious tweet. Bro got flamed so hard for saying Ty Simpson is QB1. He had to post some poster outside of a laundromat. It was a tough one for Orlovsky on the internet yesterday. But when you say stupid things and you have the platform of ESPN, this is what happens. Gator says, nice vest. You look like a shitty head coach. Thank you, Gator. It's the same vest that Aaron Glenn wore when he did this. Oh, yeah. More of your calls right now, ladies and gentlemen. Reminder, an Al Toon signed helmet is the raffle prize for those of you who are tuned in late to our first show today. Let's get to more of your calls, shall we? And we say hello to a man who's always mad.
What's up, Asmaniacs? How you doing? So I want to reply to Rooster's comments. Rooster, you think Geno Smith's gonna be better? You know, Geno Smith is terrible. You should be public gas in Jersey somewhere because the guy can't cut it. He's boring. He's lazy. He's terrible. You know, he had 32 interceptions the last couple of years, Jake. You know, and replying to Rooster, we gotta get a receiver. But Sadiq's a good option, 16, if the receivers are off the board, you know. Because, you know, we got to get one offensive player, one defensive player. I mean, shoot me if he goes defense in both the picks, Jake. Shoot me. Probably one of the worst draft decisions of all time. Can you hear me? Honestly, for Asmaniac Madness, I voted for V-Man today. Genergy had like the... We need to support the 4%ers, but I need to go. What's up? Okay.
Sorry, Gary.
It's all good.
Oh, Mad Max hung up. He was getting yelled at. Someone yelling at Mad Max for calling into the show from the gym. Get owned, Mad Max. Sean Bennett says, this guy is just annoying. Wow. Mad Max getting some hate. He's Adam Gase's son, Sean. Cut him a break. Mike D's Nuts says, Max has 0 original takes. Anthony Lozerato says, I enjoyed the show last night. Well, thank you, Anthony. We'll be back every week. The Jet Collective, baby. Subscribe on YouTube. Let's see. We are caught up on Super Chats. Make sure you vote in Asmaniac Madness. I just saw Genergy entered the chat. She's in a battle right now. 5 versus 12. Genergy trying to pull off the upset. V-Man has just retaken the lead. Genergy was up 5. Now it has swung the other way. V-Man is leading Asmaniac Madness for the first time today. More of your calls right now. Let's say hello to a man who is revered in this community. He always has his eyes on the prize.
I got my Iron UG. I hope you like my Jets take. You know they call me David T. It's not easy for me to see, but if you bring me full stream, you might like what I had to say. I'll need to get real damn close, cause my vision is dog shit.
Hi, Jake.
Hey, David.
Hey, you're putting yourself in jeopardy. You got the Aaron Glenn vest on. You might have to develop the dance, and Gator can run with that. But I'm pulling a Kyle Clifton. I have yet to vote it. I think both are so deserving, and you know, in a little bit, you know, I'm gonna have to vote for someone, but just two great people and fans and everything. As far as the quarterback, at this point, Omari is a very knowledgeable person. I think I have to agree with him. I guess Frank Reich, you know, he likes the big quarterbacks with strong arms. So, you know, why not take a swing at Aller or Beck, and with the hope that they can develop them into a long-term, you know, backup quarterback that can keep them on the field, and then, you know, go with a quarterback next year, hopefully. And the wide receiver thing, Joe Blewett, the Lemon film. What's your opinion on maybe trading up to get Lemon? Boy, he looks like he is such the real deal.
I am interested in trading up for him, David T. I don't know what I'm willing to give up, though. Like, I think I'd have to be willing to give up pick 44 if I'm coming up a couple spots just based on point value. But I also want to get a feel for what the board would potentially look like if they stayed at 16. If they feel like their only way for them to get a receiver and they love Lemon that much is to move up, I think I would be willing to do it. At the same time, my preference is to not trade up. My preference would be to trade back and get more picks.
Okay, fair enough. And Blewett said that, you know, there are other Tate and other potential wide receivers that could be, you know, maybe in the same, close to the same league as Lemon. So yeah, fair enough. That's all I got, Jake.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Max, and you're gonna have to teach Jake how to do the Aaron Glenn dance. Although I think you got to shape yours up a little bit. You keep lifting those weights, get those arms bigger, and you know, maybe you can do a better presentation.
Good job.
David T, you're the man. Go Yankees.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Jake.
Ladies and gentlemen, David T.
I got my eye on you. Checkmate me full screen. It's fireball whiskey time. David motherfucking T.
Woof, woof. Woof, woof. Meow, meow. Woof, woof. Meow, meow. Meow, meow. Meow, meow. Woof, woof. Woof, woof. Woof, woof. Woof, woof. Woof, 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 woof. Woof, 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 woof.
Oh, come on. I don't want to talk, Tim. You screwed up my time with Robbie said.
Bobby, I'm listening. What?
You're skinny as a rod. Okay, that's good. Goodbye.
That's what I thought.
More of your calls coming up, but first, a shout out to Anthony Logerato, who has gifted this community 5 channel memberships.
The Jet fans getting a little crazy.
If you hear your name called, you are now a channel member. FP Shrupa, Gabagool Media, that's Beast New Company, Dan C9721, Mother F and Chew, Dr. Matar, all receiving a gifted membership. The Rooster, who just had a great call, he sent in a membership and he made R. Pesci 89 a new channel member. Thank you, Rooster. Leader of Jets says, figured out how to send a free chat. Chat is low IQ. Leader of Jets, Aaron Glenn, in your eyes, was so bad that the only explanation was they were trying to lose. Who's the one with the low IQ?
JETS, Jets.
But I will acknowledge your super chat and give you the Ty Simpson Jet chant because we know you're the leader of the Ty Simpson Club. You and Tank for Ty, who's had an issue chatting. I've been emailing with him. His chats, he says, don't come through on this channel anymore. And he's not on any on hidden list in the community moderation. So Tank for Ty, I know you're probably watching. Keep me updated on that, man. We miss you simping for Ty in the chat. Let's say hello to Carlos DeBarber, who's next today. Hello, Carlos.
What's going on, Jake?
Hey, Los, how are you?
Wanted to congratulate you, man, on that show, Collective. That was awesome. That's amazing, man. You guys had over 1,000 subscribers in the first show.
Pretty nuts, right? I think we hit 1,500 this morning. And look, I think it's only going to grow. I think you got a really unique type of show that has never been done on YouTube before. So I think Jet fans are going to eat it up.
So when you first announced it, I didn't know I wasn't aware of the guy from the Fan, I think is what BT, is it?
Brandon Tierney, yep.
Yeah, so I didn't know that he was on there initially when you first announced it. I knew the Rich Samini name, but I didn't know the other name off top. But when I saw his face, I'm like, oh, I know that dude. Okay. But yeah, it was a good show. Really enjoyed that. And yeah, I mean, it's amazing, man. You know, pray you guys continue to lift that channel up and do good with that. But I wanted to quickly just say, man, this is it for Aaron Glenn. Like, we're gonna know this year if this guy can coach or if he's just full of it. You know, there's no hiding this year. There's no Band-Aid this year. Like, this is the year you have to actually go out here and prove that you can coach. And there has to be some kind of improvement, massive improvement. You know, there has to be some kind of hope for us to go into year 3 with Glenn. But I think this is it, man. Like, if you don't get it right here, you know, goodbye. You know, you'll be a defensive coordinator somewhere else. So yeah, I think that we this is the waiting game now. Let's see what happens. Let's see who they draft. I think who they draft, this is very important. I think on the show, on the Collective, Rich Samini actually made a really good point about how everybody was high on Joe Douglas. I was one of them. So yeah, I think Muji can solidify himself right now, like, strongly with this draft. You know, if he gets these picks right, and we can start heading in the right direction. But I do like the direction that it seems like the organization is going. It feels a little different. It feels like there's some competency in the offices. You know, there's competency in the GM, in the upper staff, and so yeah, just hoping that we can see some improvement this year overall. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of congratulate you for the collective, and then I just want to kind of throw my point out there on Aaron Glenn. Let's go Jets.
Carlos, I appreciate it. Before you go,
Oh.
show us that big gulp.
No. So actually let me see if we can. So this is actually from the nutrition place out here. It's called Galactic Nutrition. And what it's called a lit tea. They claim it's sugar free, but this is sweeter than a Kool-Aid. So I don't know. They could be tricking us into drinking these drinks, but it tastes really good. It's called a Squirtle. It's a coconut pineapple blueberry mix.
Is it named after the legendary Pokemon Squirtle?
I'm assuming. Yeah, I think they got that little theme going on there at the store. So yeah, something like that. By the way, before I leave, Jake, I wanted to mention, I believe Genergy and V-Man are both from the native Puerto Rico. So there we go. Puerto Rican battle going on, the battle of the Puerto Ricans, or should I say the last of the Puerto Ricans. See who wins this. All right, that's all I got for you, brother. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Carlos, I appreciate you, man. Great call. Enjoy the Squirtle. Looks like a big gulp, but it's somehow healthy. We love it.
The Jet fans getting a little crazy.
Last chance to enter the raffle during the show for the Altoon sign helmet. Big shout out to Kelly Maria, who gifted a channel membership. Let's go, Kelly. Kelly, thank you. Let's see who got your membership if it loads. Kelly's gifted membership went to listener DJ Hash Brown. DJ, make sure you thank Kelly. All right, I got time for one more call. We also have to close out voting in Asmaniac Madness, and this is a true battle. Genergy had the early lead. V-Man has retaken it. Right now it's 53-47. V-Man leading Genergy. Cisco Lopez, before we get to the next call, he has entered the Asmaniac raffle. Let's go, Cisco. He's in for 5. Hit it, Joe.
Jets, Jets.
All right, here's who got the Cisco memberships. Time to Shine, P-Biz, Jessica Percarlo, Joseph Jurup, and Mr. Ed Get Dough, all now channel members.
I hug him every day. I hug him every day.
Today's closer is a man of international fame. Australian Jets fan joins us now. Hello, AJF.
Is that Squirtle looks like it would make a very good cocktail, I can't lie.
I'm fascinated by the Squirtle drink now.
Yeah, I might have to do a bit of research. I might have to try that. I'll try the same recipe, throw a bit of vodka in there, and maybe come back in and say if I've made a good discovery or not. Also, is Beast a furry now? What was going on with that?
I think the bed bugs have turned him into an actual cat.
An actual cat. Okay, well, I hope he gets well soon. But my actual Jets point, or relating to the Jets, is what did you think about the whole sort of pre-draft interview thing surrounding Makai Lemon? I heard you talking about how you'd be happy to trade up for him if it means that, it's the only way of getting him. How does the sort of pre-draft thing and him being weird in all the interviews and stuff, how does that, affect your opinion?
I haven't actually heard how true that is with teams. It was a little weird at his presser, where I think because someone told him, hey, make eye contact with reporters, because apparently he's known to not do that in his interactions. He overdid it, and it kind of looked weird with whatever that was at the podium. I would take him. A lot of receivers are weird. I think that's a point that several people have made, and it's true. If you think he's a baller, I would take him. They need players.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, he's personally who I would pick. I would go Reese with the second pick, and then I would take Tate if he was there over Lemon, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think Lemon's more realistic, but they'd be the two players that I would pick in the first round. But yeah, that was pretty much all I had to ask. Thanks for the show once again. Keep killing it, Jake.
AJF, thank you. Australian Jet fan, everybody. Late super chat that I see here from Iconicalware. This is our pal Dirty, who says, if Glenn is out by the end of the year, we must get either McDermott or Tomlin in here. No excuses. Need a proven coach. No more coordinators. I tend to agree. Do those guys want to coach the Jets, though? I think the answer will be, do they have power? Do they have a path to a quarterback? Will Woody, in writing, stay out of the way? I agree with the premise, though. I'd hire Tomlin immediately. People are like, oh, Mike Tomlin, he hasn't won in forever. The Jets need to get out of hell. Going 10-7 and making the playoffs is a good thing. For the Steelers, I get it. They're sick of it. They've done it. They want to go further. All right. I think Mike Tomlin elevated rosters that were not that good. You got the most out of them. I think if you got Mike Tomlin a quarterback, he'd be able to win another Super Bowl. Mike Tomlin was coaching the Bills. I think a lot of people will be picking them to win the whole thing. And McDermott should not have been fired. I think he's a good coach. He's defensive minded. He has hired offensive coordinators that have done well before, though. You need someone proven, right? Mike Vrabel was proven. That's why I was screaming for him a year ago. Remember when Three Siblings Jay called Mike Vrabel mid? I know I do. Pepperidge Farms remembers. So I agree with the experience premise. I also think if you're not going to be able to get one of those guys, then take the chance on the offensive guy. Hire Josh McCown. Hire Davis Webb. He's so highly regarded that one of the best offensive minds in the sport, Sean Payton, voluntarily stepped down from play calling so he didn't lose Davis Webb off his staff because another team was going to hire Webb to be their play caller as an OC. So Sean Payton had to step down and allow Webb to be the OC for Denver to not lose him. And Muji knows the guys from Denver, so that's why I bring his name up. Cisco Lopez in the raffle for 2. Let's support Jenny from the block, 4%. She's going to need your support right now. It's 53-47. V-Man with the lead. I got time for one more call. Why did he sound like an animal the last time we heard from him? We ask him that question specifically on the record right now.
Woof! 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 Meow! 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 We're gonna be fine. I'm just a little grouchy today. I didn't get much sleep. Almost fell off the bed. Almost hurt my asshole this morning.
How did you almost fall off the bed?
Tossing and turning.
Maybe you need a bigger bed.
We'll see about that. We'll see. I haven't got much sleep.
Maybe you should take a nap.
And something never showed up in my mailbox. I'm wondering what's going on here. Like something smells like crap here. I don't like it.
Something smells like crap?
Yeah, and I don't like that. I'm like, either someone must have forgot to send it in the mail, or someone must have forgot.
Maybe you should flush your toilet if it smells like crap in the attic.
Well, as Team Ghostbusters said before, see ya.
Have you thought about the bed bugs maybe pushing you off the bed when you were mid-sleep last night? Is that what happened? What? Beast is gone. I guess we'll never know. Well, that was an interesting one. That was something. Hey, Beast, you up?
I hear you.
Beast needs to get some sleep. On that note, that's a show. Yeah. We'll be back this afternoon. First-time guest, Al Iannazzone, longtime Jets reporter for New York's Newsday, will be stopping by. We'll confirm that with Al after the show. Check out the Jets Collective if you haven't, with myself, Samini, and Brandon Tierney. That channel is brand new. It's the Jets Collective YouTube channel, and you could watch the first episode there. We will have a podcast specifically for the Jets Collective available as well. So I'm looking forward to that. If you want more content, if you want to continue to engage with the community, join my Patreon. You'll get access to the Discord. which is included in your membership. Bonus shows, your name added to the intro. We're going to update the list of names at the start of each month, so that's coming up in a few days. You'll find out about exclusive events, merch store discounts, and a whole lot more. Just go to patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. And yes, the Jets Collective did reach over 1,000 subscribers. In fact, we're over 1,500 last I checked. Now we're over 1,600. We have almost 1,700 already. So this fan base is elite. You guys are the best. So I certainly appreciate that. We'll have super chats ready to roll for the next show in all likelihood. I just got to make sure YouTube approves us. So I'm handling all that. You guys are the best. Thanks for watching. But we got to get out of here. But we can't leave until we declare a winner. Ladies and gentlemen, he might have slept through his entire match, but it doesn't matter because it is V-Man moving on to the round of 32.
Asmaniac Madness is underway. Make sure you vote to make your voice heard.
Great battle between V-Man and Genergy, but it is V-Man moving on by a final score of 53-47 with a total of 470 votes that were cast. So V-Man will move on, and V-Man will face the winner of this afternoon's Big Show versus Jason in Jerusalem battle. It is a battle you do not want to miss. That's coming your way this afternoon. Big Show and Jason in Jerusalem. I'm looking forward to that, as I'm sure you are. But that does it for me. And in honor of V-Man winning, I play you out the only way I know how, with a classic V-Man moment. Go Jets, and we'll talk to you soon.
Now, when Neil was the first caller today, the other guy who I was asked more about last night, besides Neil, is this guy online right now who might be sleeping. V-Man's up next. Hello, V-Man. Come on. V-Man, you up?
Yep. Sorry. Line is right. Line's freaking out. Sorry.
What's up, man?
All right. Sorry, man. I look, I work the graveyard shift, so
I get it.
I had this on in the background waiting for my turn.
I respect the passion, V-Man. That's a real Jet fan right there.
Yeah, no, honestly looking forward to this game. It's Monday night, so I can actually, properly enjoy it, without, having to wake myself up in the middle of sleeping.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Bass, and Jake. Get it started, Gator. Bass, and Jake. Bass, and Jake. Bass, and Jake. Bass, and Jake.
Well, SuperChats always cut the line.
And the Abuelo dances really fine.
When she's sucking and back them jets.
My senorita, she gets real happy.
Real happy if that female look doesn't rhyme.
Hey, Gator, it's a family show.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Bass, and Jake. Bass, and Jake. Bass, and Jake. Bass, and Jake.
Oh, hi. Jake wants me to ask you to click on the like button.
That's right, Lane. And if they don't subscribe to the Jake Asman Show, this team may never win another game. Let's go, Jets.